Go to your kitchen, not later, right now. Open that cabinet, reach for the spices you use without thinking, and pick one up. Chili powder, paprika, turmeric, cinnamon. Now turn it over. Look closely at the label in your hand, because what seems like the safest, most ordinary part of your daily routine might be quietly working against you. This isn't a distant risk. This isn't something that might happen someday. This is already happening, inside millions of homes, inside millions of bodies. As of 2025, multiple spice products sold across the country have been flagged, recalled, or legally challenged due to contamination with heavy metals like lead, arsenic, and cadmium. These aren't minor impurities. These are substances that science has linked directly to long-term damage in the human body, especially in the nervous system. And here's what makes this different from everything else you've been warned about. Your body doesn't get rid of these metals. They don't pass through. They don't fade away. They build up, day after day, meal after meal, year after year. What starts as a pinch of seasoning becomes something your body quietly stores in your bones, your blood, your nerve tissue. Think about that for a second. Every time you cook, every time you season your food, you could be adding to a total that never resets. And the symptoms? They don't show up overnight. They creep in slowly. A tingling in your feet, a burning sensation in your hands, that strange numbness you can't quite explain, the feeling like you're wearing socks when you're barefoot. These aren't random signs of aging. They are signals. Signals that your nerves may not be functioning the way they should. Scientific research has already connected prolonged exposure to these metals with damage to the very nerve fibers responsible for sensation. The smallest, most delicate fibers, the ones that tell your brain what your body is feeling, are the first to be affected. Once they're damaged, the effects are not easy to reverse. Now here's the part most people don't realize. It's not just one metal, it's the combination. Lead, arsenic, cadmium. Together, they don't just add risk, they multiply it. Studies have shown that combined exposure creates more severe and complex neurological effects than any one of them alone. And that combination can exist in a single spice blend sitting quietly on your shelf right now. So before you dismiss this, before you assume it doesn't apply to you, ask yourself one simple question. When was the last time you checked what's actually inside the spices you trust every single day? Because what you don't see doesn't mean it isn't there.
Great Value Spices, Walmart. Great Value is the private label brand of Walmart Inc., headquartered in Bentonville, Arkansas, a corporation generating over $600 billion in annual revenue. In June 2022, plaintiffs Susan Gajeta and Tracy Gomez filed a class action lawsuit, Gajeta v. Walmart Inc., U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California, alleging that Great Value brand herbs and spices, including basil, chili powder, ground cumin, organic ground ginger, and organic paprika, contained lead, arsenic, and cadmium that were neither disclosed on the label nor warned about on the packaging. The case was brought directly from Consumer Reports' documented findings that Great Value products fell into the category of spices with concerning levels of heavy metals. U.S. District Judge William Orrick allowed the core question whether the products contained dangerous metal levels to advance to trial. For a senior woman using a quarter teaspoon each of Great Value chili powder and Great Value organic paprika every day in her cooking, Consumer Reports scientists calculated that the combined arsenic, lead, and cadmium levels from that single daily habit were sufficient to raise documented health concerns over time.
Brand 2. McCormick ground turmeric, paprika, oregano, basil, ginger, and thyme. McCormick & Company, Inc., headquartered in Hunt Valley, Maryland, with over $6 billion in annual revenue, is the largest spice company in the United States.
In January 2022, a class action lawsuit was filed against McCormick, alleging that its products, specifically McCormick Culinary Ground Basil, Ground Ginger, Ground Oregano, Paprika, Ground Thyme, and Ground Turmeric, contain significant levels of toxic heavy metals, including lead, arsenic, and cadmium, and that the company had failed to warn consumers. McCormick settled that lawsuit for $3 million in May 2022. McCormick has stated that it tests products for heavy metals and aims to have levels as close to zero as possible, but the company has not publicly disclosed the specific numerical thresholds it considers acceptable. Consumer Reports independently confirmed that McCormick products appeared in both the some concern and moderate concern categories across multiple spice types in their 126 product analysis. The consumer directive is this: for a 65-year-old woman adding McCormick ground turmeric to her morning tea daily for anti-inflammatory reasons, the irony is precise. The very spice she is using for its health properties may simultaneously be delivering trace accumulations of lead into the same nervous system she is trying to protect.
Brand 3, LaFleur Ground Oregano and LaFleur Ground Turmeric. Here is the number that changes everything. 31 products. That is how many of the 126 spices tested by Consumer Reports had lead levels so high they exceeded the maximum amount a person should absorb in an entire day from a single, standard serving of one spice. And Consumer Reports specifically flagged LaFleur Ground Oregano and LaFleur Ground Turmeric, products of LaFleur spices distributed across the northeastern United States, as reaching the high concern threshold, the most serious classification in Consumer Reports' testing framework. All oregano products tested across all brands, every single one, contained heavy metal levels that Consumer Reports experts classified as concerning. For a senior whose peripheral nerves are already experiencing the natural decline in myelin insulation that occurs after age 60, adding a daily source of lead, cadmium, and arsenic through a spice she believes is a healthy Mediterranean herb creates a biological assault that is entirely invisible, entirely odorless, and almost never identified as the cause of her worsening neuropathic symptoms.
Brand number 4, Happy Belly Ground Thyme, Amazon. Happy Belly is the private label food brand of Amazon.com Inc., headquartered in Seattle, Washington, a company with annual revenue exceeding $500 billion. In March 2022, a class action lawsuit was filed against Amazon for Happy Belly brand herbs and spices, alleging those products contain toxic heavy metals, including arsenic, cadmium, and lead, and that Amazon failed to disclose their presence or warn consumers of potential health risks. Consumer Reports identified Happy Belly Ground Thyme as one of only 3 products in the entire 126 product analysis to reach the high concern threshold, the worst classification in the study. For the millions of seniors who order their groceries through Amazon's Subscribe and Save, receiving a jar of Happy Belly Ground Thyme month after month in their pantry represents a source of chronic, cumulative heavy metal exposure that research now links directly to the small fiber neuropathy, producing that burning, tingling, and numbness in their feet. Brand number 5, Dollar Tree and Save-A-Lot discount cinnamon brands. This is the brand most likely to be in the spice drawer of a senior living on a fixed income. The FDA's 2024 public health alerts for elevated lead in ground cinnamon specifically named discount retail channels, including Save-A-Lot and Dollar Tree, as distribution points for products with lead levels ranging from 2.03 to 20 parts per million. The American Spice Trade Association's safety guideline is 2 parts per million. The FDA further confirmed in 2023 that lead chromate, a compound sometimes fraudulently added to spices to artificially brighten their color, was identified as the source of contamination in cinnamon products that reached 5,110 parts per million of lead in independent laboratory testing.
A senior woman who sprinkles a discount store cinnamon on her morning oatmeal every day, believing she is adding an anti-inflammatory spice to her diet, may instead be delivering the single highest daily source of dietary lead exposure into a nervous system that is already biologically more vulnerable to neurotoxic damage than it was at age 40. Safe brand number 1. Simply Organic, Frontier Co-op. Simply Organic, owned by Frontier Co-op, headquartered in Norway, Iowa, and founded 50 years ago on a cooperative model, operates under a documented internal testing protocol that goes beyond federal minimums. According to the company's published quality standards, Simply Organic implements heavy metal and microbial testing exceeding USDA National Organic Program requirements. Their internal limit for lead in turmeric is 0.5 parts per million, half the FDA's current guidance level of 1.0 parts per million. Every lot of ground turmeric, paprika, and chili powder is tested for heavy metals before distribution. Every batch of coriander and cumin is tested for aflatoxin. In 2023, 87% of their top 20 spice suppliers underwent on-site social compliance audits. Simply Organic mandates dedicated organic-only equipment for high-risk spices like turmeric and black pepper, where adulteration has historically occurred. The company uses no MSG, no irradiation, and no chemical treatment, only validated steam pasteurization. Their products are certified USDA organic, available at Whole Foods, Target, and online. For a senior woman rebuilding confidence in her spice cabinet, Simply Organic represents the documented standard of what responsible sourcing looks like. Safe brand number 2. Whole Foods 365 Organic Ground Cinnamon. When Consumer Reports tested 36 brands of cinnamon powders and spice blends in its 2024 investigation, one product stood above all others for lowest documented lead content among all tested brands: Whole Foods 365 Organic Ground Cinnamon. It recorded the lowest lead level of any product in the test. Whole Foods confirmed to Consumer Reports that it requires its suppliers to have programs controlling or testing for heavy metals. The 365 by Whole Foods Market line is available exclusively at Whole Foods Market locations nationwide and through Amazon Fresh. For seniors who rely on cinnamon for blood sugar support, a documented use supported by clinical research, switching to Whole Foods 365 Organic is a specific, actionable step that reduces measurable heavy metal exposure from one of the most commonly contaminated spice categories in the American market. Before you reach for your spice rack again, take a second and really think about what we just uncovered. These aren't rare, hard-to-find products. These are everyday brands sitting in millions of kitchens right now. The same jars you've trusted for years, the same spices you sprinkle without a second thought, could be carrying something far more dangerous than flavor. And the most unsettling part, most people have no idea, no warning, no conversation, just silent, long-term exposure that builds over time. If this opened your eyes even a little, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone who cooks every day, your parents, your friends, anyone who deserves to know what's really sitting in their kitchen. Drop a comment below with the brand you found on your shelf. Let's make this visible. Let's make it impossible to ignore. And if you want more content like this, real information, no sugarcoating, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Because next time, we're exposing what's hiding in your breakfast, and it might change the way you start your mornings forever.